Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network. For the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews, press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Congratulations. On behalf of the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network for movie talk, and the Schmoes know, you are now a member of the Jedi Alliance. May the Force be with you, always.
Hello and welcome to Jedi Alliance, a celebration of the greatest saga ever told, and every second there seems to be more saga to celebrate. Today we will be celebrating Rebels Season 2, Part 2. I am one of your hosts. My name is Joseph Scrimshaw. With me, as always, is your other host.
Hello, I'm the Internet Soapbox Mark Donica. You can find me on Twitter at SoapboxMarkDonica, or at SoapboxMark. Donica is my last name. Hi. We got some fun guests in today. We've the returning Emma Fyffe.
Hello. Happy to be here again.
Happy to have you back. And we have Mr. James Arnold Taylor.
Hello.
Sir,
yes.
Welcome to the Alliance.
I'm excited to talk about Star Wars. Never had a chance to do that before.
Are you a fan?
No, never.
Yeah.
I've seen it once or twice.
Yeah?
Now,
Okay.
Have you seen all the movies?
Well, you know, some of them.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Hope you try to catch up. Try to keep up.
And just in case people are just catching up with us, Emma, can you tell people who you are, what you do?
Yeah, I do a bunch of shows at AfterBuzzTV.com, our sister network. Specifically, I am one of the hosts of the Star Wars Rebels after show.
Excellent.
And you can find me on the internet at Emma Fyffe. It's my name.
Excellent. And James?
James Arnold Taylor. I'm a voice actor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Johnny Test, Fred Flintstone, and a bunch of others. I do Jay Baruchel's voice when he's not able to for How to Train Your Dragon. And I have a lot of fun doing voices, and you can find me at Jat Actor, J-A-T Actor, on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. Thank you for letting me shamelessly plug it.
Oh, of course. Please do.
Oh,
And
no,
now
don't worry. There's more time after, too.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there'll be half the show is plugging. It's great. So you're just a big Star Wars fan as well as being the voice of Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars.
Rather convenient
Yeah.
to grow up in a time when Star Wars was right there. I, was 7 years old when the first movie came out, and so I saw it, and my life was changed. And we went from playing, cops and robbers to playing Star Wars.
Right.
And I always wanted to be Han Solo. Never could have imagined that one day I'd grow up to be Ben Kenobi, because he was the old guy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and now I'm the old guy playing Obi-Wan Kenobi on Clone Wars, and sometimes, Rebels, I got that one shot, so it was good. But yeah, no, I love Star Wars because of what it did for filmmaking.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one thing that we all kind of forget is all the cool stuff that we have from every movie now, sound-wise and visually.
Yes.
Is because George Lucas decided to make Star Wars. How cool is that?
Yeah. I want to make this sort of B-movie traditionally, and I want to make it amazing. Yeah. And now all of our movies are kind of amazing, at least, if on the very least, at least on a technical level.
Yeah. What he's able to have accomplished, Skywalker sound and THX, all that stuff. People probably take that for granted. They don't realize the connection to George Lucas sometimes, especially the youngins.
Yeah.
And all of it is because of that. I want to do this. I want to do it this way.
Yeah.
We all know who I'm doing there.
Absolutely. We'll probably make you say something about poetry because that's what everybody teases for Mr. Lucas for these days, although I think it's true and awesome. Speaking of the poetry of Star Wars, we've been asking all of our guests about their kind of Force Awakens experiences. So I would love to hear from both of you. What was your first viewing experience like?
Well, I saw it on Thursday night, obviously, and my first experience with it was that I really, really enjoyed it, but I felt like I had so many emotions to process that I was like, okay, I have to see it again because I really think I liked it, but I need to see it again just to make sure, because all I'm feeling right now are emotions. I cried through probably the third, if not half, of the film.
Nice.
For me as a girl, it was just, and that's one of the things that's been so nice about Clone Wars and about Rebels is I've had so many opportunities to see women with lightsabers.
That's awesome.
But it was so nice to see a girl with a lightsaber on the big screen, and then I just got really emotionally affected, like thinking about all the little girls that are going to have Rey as a hero in a movie, and so it was a very emotional experience for me.
Excellent. Yeah, the only time that I actually wept, where actual tears came from my eyes, was when Han and Leia hugged.
Yeah.
And part of it was the just the beauty and the power of not only that moment for Princess Leia, but that moment for Carrie Fisher. Mm-hmm. That an actress of her age was on screen and killing it, and then actor that we had grown up with. So, James, what was your experience?
Oh, boy. Well, I was very fortunate to get to see it Tuesday and Wednesday before at a couple premieres. Because I was also fortunate to do some voices in the film. And so they invited all of us as a little premiere to show all of us cast and crew. And then they had a family one where they let us all bring our families the next
wow.
day. So I got to see it 2 days in a row, which was good because it is exactly what you're talking about. And we're, okay, I've processed this and now I need to see it. And, after the shock of seeing my name in the credits of a Star Wars film and all my friends from Clone Wars and everybody, Matt Lanter, Kat Tabor, Tom Kane, all these, D. Bradley Baker, we're just all so excited about it. But then the film itself, it's interesting because obviously I still want to get hired by Lucasfilm. Film was great. I love the film. It was great. But as a Star Wars film, it's a different level. You have to look at it on a different level. And you have to go, okay, wait a second. So there's all these kinds of things that happen, and you go, I don't know how I feel about this, and I don't know about that, and where does that fit in? And wait a second. And then you watch it the second time, and you go, I'm just going to relax and watch it.
Right.
And you enjoy it so much more.
Yeah. You get over the fact you remember that this is the first of 3.
Yes.
And things tend to kind of fade away in terms of issues that you may have had.
Yeah.
And what formats did each of you see it in?
I saw it at ArcLight.
So 2D, 3D, IMAX 3D?
No, just the regular 2D. I haven't seen it in IMAX 3D, but I heard it was really good in IMAX 3D. I don't love 3D.
Yeah, I don't know.
Me either. And I know we're the bespectacled bunch.
Yeah.
I will say,
won't
though,
be sponsored by any 3D television anytime soon.
I will say that the IMAX 3D wasn't that intrusive, and it totally sucked me into the movie.
Yeah, I saw it at the El Cap both nights, and that's just fun.
Yeah.
And you got the organ
yeah.
Oh,
player
it's so
and all
great.
Yeah, it's a
that.
ridiculous laser light show, and all of that is
well,
great.
they didn't do the show
They
for
didn't.
us. No.
Jerks. Bring your kids, but no laser light show.
Yeah, no.
Ridiculous,
that was
Disney.
what a rip-off.
Come
Yeah,
on.
But no, it was pretty great. The only thing I will say, and is I felt as though it was a little like the kids got the keys to Dad's car. Hey, we're making a Star Wars movie, and I missed George's touch on it. And I know the prequel haters and all of that.
You're safe here.
I felt like it was missing him. The soul of Star Wars wasn't there, and that part of me made me a little sad.
In my dream world, George Lucas would be happy to just come in and say, let me just put this weird thing in the corner and just add a little bit of weird. We've talked a lot about on the show myself, like in Clone Wars it helped me really appreciate how unique it is to have this sort of mass media thing that is still very auteurish. In that it is mostly coming from this very odd, very unique human being. And I think that was emulated well in The Force Awakens.
Yes.
But you can only emulate one person's just sort of weird, like, no, this monster's wrong because their fangs should be 2 feet long. Otherwise, it's not right.
Yeah.
Like,
How
what?
he is. Yes, you know how he operates. And it's so true. I mean, in the show in Clone Wars, when we would make the episodes, we would go through something. The episodes with Satine, and we had Jon Favreau playing. Oh gosh, now his name is escaping me. The main Mandalorian bad guy.
Yep, I'm totally drawing a blank on
Vizsla?
this.
Yeah.
Pre Vizsla.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I am a fan. I don't just voice it.
There's so much to know.
There are a lot of characters in Clone
His
Wars.
lightsaber was completely different the first time, and then Dave Filoni showed it to George, and he went, "No, it's got to be this and with that." And okay, so but I got to see the first cut of it, and it was a very different lightsaber. It was really cool, and it's still cool. But it's exactly what you're saying, Joseph. It's this. He has this look where he knows what he sees, and he sees what he knows, and he knows how to put it together, and he knows how to visualize it and speak it out. And when it happens, it becomes George's Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's unfortunate, but I hope that we're going to get even more sort of people embracing their own inner weirdness. And that's why I hope for Episode 8 that you get some even more bizarre ships, more bizarre aliens, things that you just would never really think of. Because it's just brand new.
I think with Force Awakens, one of the things that I have said about it is that it felt, and this is in no means a diss to it by any means, but it feels like a really good, high-budget Star Wars fan film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think that's very fair.
I think there's no way it can't be that. And I was really thrilled with it and continue to be thrilled with it because it was not a very bad version of that, which I was afraid of. So I was very
and
happy
I think the
with
best things to come were the things in Rey's vision. Bring it back to you. From all of the stuff that we saw that looks like glimpses of the future, as well as glimpses of the past, that look completely different than any other Star Wars film we have seen. And it's exciting to see where we'll go from there.
I got to talk about that. I'm sorry.
No,
please.
Quickly, show the other night on Rebels recap. So Matt Wood, sound designer, brilliant guy, brought me in to do some voices, and he goes, and we're going to have you do a little Obi-Wan. And the whole room went, oh. This is back in October. We were watching the movie, doing the ADR. and they had me do Rey, all these different versions of saying
Wow.
Rey. And that's like that, voice actor's nightmare. How do you say one word 20 different ways?
Ray!
And so, Rey. And then they had me do it both as young Obi-Wan and old Obi-Wan.
Oh, nice.
And then they went and took it and said and he played it for J.J. Abrams. He said, "That's great. Now let's get Ewan McGregor." Because he's like, "Well, we got to have Ewan McGregor in it." And so, and then they brought in Alec Guinness's tracks and they cut the word afraid and Rey. They took Rey from there. So it's a combination, but it was fun because it actually did take all three of us actors that have played Obi-Wan to do that.
Right, to build it.
So cool.
That's
so
super
I'm glad
cool.
to be in it.
What voices did you end up doing?
So I'm all sorts of different characters in it. When Finn is looking for water on Jakku, I'm a couple of the aliens that are angry at him. I'm some of the laughing guys in the bar. Those little kind of characters there.
Oh, yeah.
Puppet kind of characters and other voices. I'm a lot of very paranoid Imperials that are about to be blown up.
Right.
Oh, okay.
You can hear me, Commander. And it's almost Obi-Wan in the background. You can kind of hear this kind of voice going. No, we're coming in. And then there's a lot of stormtroopers. There was, the two troopers that walk in when Kylo's having, and they turn around and go back.
Yeah.
Originally, Matt Lanter, who of course is the voice of Anakin Skywalker in Clone Wars, it was Matt and I, and that was going to be a nice little nod of Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Oh, nice.
We were walking in. Oh yeah. So have you seen those new T-100s? Better go back this way. But it didn't need the voice at the end of it. But so we did that. We did a lot of different little voices throughout the whole movie. I mean, just peppered throughout. You can hear stuff. But
Cool.
it's fun.
Cool. Well, I am going to ask you to do some Obi-Wan stuff because Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite character, and I
Mine
must.
too.
And I'm being horribly indulgent about this.
You got it. You got to do it.
I have a comedy album called Rebel Scum where I do a bit about Obi-Wan's comments to Mos Eisley being too harsh and that they're basically horrible Yelp reviews. And then I do Obi-Wan doing Yelp reviews of a couple other places.
Sure.
I do not do the Obi-Wan voice
Okay.
because I'm not particularly good at the Obi-Wan voice. I do the Emperor voice,
Come on.
but I've never heard these lines spoken by a proper Obi-Wan Kenobi. So if you don't mind reading a couple of Obi-Wan
Make
Kenobi's
sure that I
Yelp
never
reviews.
work again for the. Well, especially for the. Oh yeah, these people are going to love me. These companies you have here.
This is the worst thing I could ever do to a commercial voice actor, isn't it?
Okay, the views expressed by this is not necessarily.
Oh, don't worry, we have that. We have that. Don't
the
worry.
disclaimer.
But I think doubling up on it's probably a good
Okay,
idea.
so do you want me to just pause in between them and just go, or just,
Yeah, that'd be great. Just do them.
Chipotle, a hideous den of incompetence and guacamole. Notice how I said guacamole. IKEA, a twisted maze of cheap wood and crappy meatballs. Radio Shack. Actually, I like Radio Shack. I got a USB adapter for my lightsaber dongle there. Very helpful employees. The Force will be with them. Always.
Thank you so much. That makes me very, very happy. I didn't realize when I was going to ask you to do this that the thing that would make me the most happy was hearing Obi-Wan say crappy.
I know, I was going to say, wow, I don't think I've ever, in my head, I don't think I've ever said crappy as Obi-Wan crappy.
Thank you so much.
That was a lot of fun. And from there, we're going to go to news from the HoloNet. So, unfortunately, we received news earlier this week that Star Wars Episode 8 is going to be pushed back to December 15th, 2017. Not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
When it comes to any sort of a film, how will pushing back the release date affect the fandom, do you think? Do you think there's going to be mass hysteria? Or do you think this is going to be seen as kind of a good thing?
Overall, my inclination is kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like overall Force Awakens was extremely well received. And also, there's a lot of Star Wars happening right now.
Yeah.
We've got video games, we've got shows on TV, we've got comics. Like, there's plenty of Star Wars to hold you over until the next movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really felt like it was so fun to have Star Wars Holiday.
Yeah.
And toward the end of that season, I was kind of bummed out. Like, what? Regular, Christmas has to come back?
Exactly.
I mean, I know Rogue One, it'll be interesting to see if Rogue One has that same power or weight
Right.
that a saga movie does. But I'm really excited to have the tradition of no, the saga movies come
out at Christmas.
in the holiday time where we have plenty of time, and then maybe the spin-offs are the fun summer romps.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's okay, and I think it will be interesting to see all of the. I mean, it's all already starting. It's like once you say that Obi-Wan was in there saying Rey, for example, the internet went crazy.
Yeah.
So that gives them 2 years to really just dream up all sorts of things that aren't going to really happen.
One of my favorite things in chat. Somebody asked not if Obi-Wan was Rey's descendant, but if you specifically, James Arnold Taylor, were Rey's.
They found me out. Yes,
that's going to be a big reveal.
Yeah,
that Star Wars is
exclusive.
real.
Don't tell Ryan Johnson. I like that. It seems to be coming from the general reaction from all of the characters. There's been the explosion of Rey and how much of a cultural icon she truly is.
Yeah.
And how Kylo Ren isn't necessarily becoming a joke, but is a little bit more of a little bit funnier of a character than a sympathetic one. And hopefully they're starting to tailor it to more of the public expectation of these characters. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's a great point.
I mean, I think, with the Kylo Ren kind of becoming a slightly humorous character, I mean, the SNL sketch, if you guys haven't seen The Undercover Boss, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the necessary flaws of The Force Awakens, is a weird way to say that, is that it's a blockbuster movie and they have to spin a bunch of plates. And it feels structured differently because it has to do all this. And I'm thrilled for them to step back and say, whoa, everybody loves Rey, Finn, Poe, and even BB-8. Let's give them more screen time instead of adding more characters and adding more plates to spin in the future movies.
It is a long
totally
time
agree.
that Finn's going to just be knocked unconscious, though, isn't it? Because that's how we left him in the last movies.
I know.
Yeah, I think we're gonna talk about that later in the show, actually. So also, Daisy Ridley is going to be honored at the Oscar Wilde Awards, which is an award ceremony for Irish descendant actors. How would you want to see any of the other actors honored for their new sort of jump into superstardom? Because Daisy has taken the world by storm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not just in Star Wars, but everybody went, oh, that was her in all of these other movies that have been coming out recently. So what about Oscar Isaac? Has to deal with being Apocalypse coming soon in the X-Men film.
I'm excited about BB-8 then.
Yeah. He's going to get a lot. Yeah.
R2 was an ambassador for the franchise for the longest time, and now it's good that he gets a little bit of a break, and now there's
Let someone else shoulder the burden.
Exactly. And he doesn't even have shoulders.
Have you seen him in person? Have you been in
No.
in the
Unfortunately, no.
BB-8? So at Celebration we were, and then he came backstage, and my daughter and I got pictures with him and stuff, and it will make you cry because it's real. I mean, there's guys over here going behind their back. But he comes up to you and he looks and he turns and his eye looks at you. And then there's like, so it's funny, but I also love it that the droids can become something that are, be honored in some sense.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
And R2 is a little snarky, so there's always the possibility that maybe whatever he's beeping and booping, it's maybe like criticizing your fashion choices or whatever.
Right, exactly.
But whatever BB-8 is saying to you is probably supportive.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, BB-8 is a very sincere kind of character, I feel.
Yeah. I would like to see John Boyega rewarded by getting just more personal time to hang out with Harrison Ford. Because I feel like that's what he wants. More than any Academy Awards, just more time to hang with Harrison.
It's like a Disneyland trip where you see the Vader and the Stormtroopers, but it's John really excited. And
I was going to say, I need John Boyega on more like lunch boxes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He really is the one that out of the whole group is such a Star Wars fan. I mean, it's just like with the Clone Wars and stuff where if you talk to him, he's just like, can you believe I'm involved in this? Isn't this the greatest thing ever? And so I really do hope that his film career just explodes. And of course, he obviously he's going to be busy doing this stuff.
Of course.
But he's such a good comedic actor. So I want to see him in many other things. I thought he was just great.
Yeah, I thought he showed amazing range, and that will really help not being typecast.
Yeah.
Mark your bingo cards, because in Star Tours, when he shows up,
I saw him in Star
Jakku,
Tours.
The first thing I thought was, he must have been so excited to be like, I get to do Star Tours?
Losing his mind, right?
Yeah, it's so good to see fans be a part of what they were a fan of. And then our next story, we've got Mission Impossible Rogue Nation writer Christopher McQuarrie, almost wrote Ralph McQuarrie, just out of instinct, has been brought in to rewrite some of Rogue One right before they start shooting. What does his involvement tell you about what type of a film this is going to be?
And like big action spy thriller. That's the kind of movies
They're all going to have
writes.
really good hair.
Yeah.
No, I like his style. Glasses. Hair. Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be some like infiltration kind of missions or
definitely.
something.
Yeah. I do actually feel like it's going to be about style because I had known, but I had forgot that he also wrote Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
The Tom Cruise movie, which is very, very funny and it's very sharp. Like every scene has a nice little purpose.
He wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, I did not know that. I love that. But that was one of those movies that people didn't know what it was about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a bad title.
Except for video game fans. They went, oh, he's respawning.
Yeah. So, no, I'm really actually very excited about this film because I feel like it's kind of a callback to the old 70s and 80s, you know, westerns or Force 10 from Navarone, you know, the guys getting together to get the thing. And I think that if they can pull that kind of feel off, it'd be really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like... Go ahead.
It seems like every character, too, is going to have their own kind of a quirk or specialty.
Yeah.
Because Donnie Yen's in it, and his character is blind.
Oh.
Cool.
And you can tell that from the picture. His pupils are kind of glassed over.
I thought you were going to say he had the Geordie thing.
Different show.
Different
podcast. But yeah, so I'm excited to learn about those different quirks from those characters.
Yeah, it makes me think it's going to be a little bit more heist because we've had a lot of words thrown out. They've described it as a war movie. There is an element of quest certainly in like old western, but I feel like with his style, I doubt that it was to really like structurally change it massively.
No.
But like let's condense this information and make it funny and show the characters in like a sharp, smashy.
Exactly, and also, I mean, he has a proven track record of sort of like these nice ensemble casts, and really, as you say, like highlighting each of the characters' personality quirks in such a way that you don't feel like you're spending the whole movie like meet Bob and like all the different characters, like incorporating it into the actual plot of the film.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I can't wait. That movie, ever since it was first announced, like we're finally getting to see a different part of the Star Wars universe on film.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Speaking of fun, there's a great interview with Michael Kaplan, who was one of the costumers on Star Wars: The Force Awakens, who talked about Kylo Ren's initial design. He wanted this chrome Lord of the Stormtroopers sort of a feel with it. And we all know now that that's what ended up becoming Captain Phasma.
Yeah.
So do you think keeping Kylo in that Lord of the Stormtroopers type of look would have affected his character? Would it have been weird actually seeing a Ralph McQuarrie Stormtrooper with a lightsaber affect him at all? Or
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like
solid Kool-Aid from Joseph.
I'll burst through a wall.
But if they'd kept that, then we would not have emo Kylo Ren, I feel.
I feel like it reflects his character so much. Like the chrome is sort of like fancy. That's almost like J. Crew look. In his actual costume, it's more like rag stock. Like I put this together to look like my grandpa.
Yep.
Like almost like Space
true.
Macklemore. That it's so his character.
It really did have that feel, though. I mean, as you're watching this, you're going, wow, I'm watching this huge Star Wars film, but it is almost like this kid took this stuff and put it together. So it makes you wonder, although I think it would be more effective of like when we first saw Darth Vader.
Yeah.
There was this ominous character.
No, absolutely.
But we're not necessarily supposed to be that afraid of Kylo, are we?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think when you go in totally blind, you're supposed to be scared of him on Jakku.
Yes.
And then over
Right.
time, you realize,
Yeah.
so powerful when he takes his mask off that you're so used to, well, scars are why we have
Right.
masks, and scars are a reflection of damage.
Yep.
And the fact that he doesn't have
Nothing.
anything. All he has is flowing, beautiful locks.
just gorgeous.
You know, he just
They
shakes
needed the
it out.
slow-mo shot of him doing that. Yeah.
Oh, I pray there's an outtake where he did that. I
There's
pray.
gotta be.
So that would have been a fun look into what Kylo Ren could have been.
Yeah.
But that was your news from the HoloNet for this week, Mr. Joseph Scrimshaw.
We are going to get into our main topic of the day now, which is to talk about Star Wars Rebels Season 2, Part 2. If you've ever wondered how in-depth we can go, we are talking about the preview of the second half of a season of television. But there's a lot there really to talk about as Star Wars grows, and in the wake of The Force Awakens, I feel like it's kind of taking on extra weight. Did you guys have powerful reactions to that trailer for Season 2? In particular, the revelation of so many old characters coming into the Rebels team. What were you guys' reactions to that?
I mean, I was, number one, it was cool, I think, that they're incorporating the lightsaber with crossguard like Kylo Ren has, which was super cool to see. But the fact that they're hinting so strongly at the showdown between Ahsoka and Vader, just...
Yeah, it's powerful.
A lot of feelings.
Yeah, I was just like going, so where's all my characters? No. I'm kidding. I kid.
It's an understandable reaction.
I kid Dave Filoni, but no. I was watching it. When it first came out, everybody kept going, "Oh, you're in it, you're in it, you're in it," because there was a voice that sounded like one of my voices.
Oh, okay.
So I was watching it the first time, kind of going, "Okay, wait, who are they talking about?" I just wanted to be able to say, "No, it's not me," and maybe I know who it is. And then I had to watch it again to really kind of go back and watch it to get the whole sense of the whole thing. It's interesting. I think we talked about this a little. I must say, as a person that works in Star Wars, I think it's all great.
Yeah.
As a fan of Star Wars, sometimes I go, I don't know where this fits, and I don't know where to place all of this information. So I'm torn.
Is it the feeling that they're packing the story in too tight, or that they're disrupting events in the original trilogy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that again, I grew up with Luke Skywalker is really, even though Anakin was the chosen one, that was before. Before that, it was Luke was the chosen one,
right.
and Luke Skywalker was the hero. And a lot of this, if this is happening while he's alive, really pulls away from the power of his being the one to save the day.
Right. I also think, in the first season of Rebels, it was so much just, okay, we have our little rebel crew and we're just sort of on the outskirts of the galaxy, we're operating on our own. They weren't part of the resistance, but now they are. And and slowly but surely we're incorporating this more into the Star Wars universe, which, as you say, James, is like it is a little problematic.
Yeah, it is. Because what happens to these characters?
We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to brainstorm a little bit more on that, because I think that is one of the huge questions of it. Wait, Mark, do you have reactions?
Well, speaking to how the crew of the Ghost has sort of evolved, there was a line in the last episode when they were talking about all of the transports, and Kanan was like, "Oh, that'll be great," but he was the guy who was like the last sort of line to really joining this whole movement, and all of a sudden he's cool. It's interesting choices with how they're making the new characters fit in with the trilogy
existing,
and where they stand.
Yeah, I agree.
But to your point about Luke being the only hero, that means that something really bad has to happen for the Force to react. We got to get that kid on the front lines now.
Yeah, but that's a weird thing for Disney XD to do.
So was a Tron Uprising.
Yeah.
But, I did too. I fucking love that show. But that's a different story for a different day.
In terms of just the volume of old characters, I have been happy that they've managed to introduce them mostly organically. Like if you're gonna tell a story of different cells coming together to form the Rebel Alliance, it's believable. It's more believable that they would eventually bump into Princess Leia than they would not. So I'm happy when they managed to bring in the old characters organically, but I'm worried that there are going to be episodes where it's not as organic or well done.
I
as it was with Princess Leia.
That's what I was doing. Thank you.
Organically. Yeah.
No, I agree. Leia was a very natural choice, I think, to, as you say, integrate very organically into the story. But it is true now, though, because fans, a lot of fans anyway, that I've interacted with, I know they really want to see like all of these characters from the original trilogy and Clone Wars to some extent introduced in Rebels, and some of them it's like I don't think you really want them to, and if they were to introduce them, there would be a lot of plot issues.
When the original, I don't know if I'm supposed to be able to tell this, but I'm going to tell it anyways. So originally, when they started making Rebels, they made they make a pilot animatic, a presentation reel, and so originally the voices that they brought in to do all of the voices in it was D. Bradley Baker, myself, and Catherine Tabor. Cool. And so I was Kanan and I was Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was narrating it, which I was like, oh, that's a good idea. You guys should have stuck with that.
That is a good idea.
Yes.
But so, and I remember, Mikey Kelly, a good buddy of mine, he played Michelangelo in the TMNT movie and such, a great voice actor. He was playing Ezra in it. And we all kept looking at the script going, is it Han Solo? Is he Han Solo? Is this?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Are we telling the story of Han Solo? Are we going to find out later that he's Han Solo? And so, because it's like, how do you bring in a character like that in this world at that time period? Because I thought that would have been really cool to see this young, almost not Oliver Twist, but this kind of, the Artful Dodger kind of like kid that's, running around goofing on the Empire. But I think that would be the only way you could bring a character like that in, but it's just, I'm sorry, it's just an interesting note, because that was what my initial thought was.
Yeah,
How are they gonna do this?
please, any of those insights, you are more than welcome to stop with.
Well, again, I'm probably getting in all sorts of trouble for saying it.
as long as you're contractually allowed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the reason why I think it's okay is because the show's out. It's done.
It's done.
Right.
Knows
And
what
this
the
was
show
a version.
is.
It sounds like this is a version
Early
that
version.
it was very different from what was broadcast.
Actually, not really too much different as far as just the storyline and the theme and stuff.
Okay.
The Inquisitor was there, and all of those things were going on, and it was a lot of fun to do that. I did more of a Johnny Depp version of Kanan, and I think Freddie is doing a fantastic job as Kanan. But it was one of those things where the story wasn't really all that different, but we were just thinking, because they're so encoded every time, we thought, these won't be the real names.
Of course.
Right.
It's really going to be about Han Solo.
Okay, yeah,
So we
that's-
were like
that makes a
looking
lot of
at it
sense.
there, and so I don't know. It's just a thought that came to mind when you're talking about all these canon characters coming in.
Interesting.
Now I'm dreaming of a version of Rebels that just all leads up to them eventually meeting with Obi-Wan Kenobi, who narrates the whole series.
Well, no, I mean that actually was something like if we find out Rey's parentage eventually in the upcoming trilogy, if by the time we get to Obi-Wan and Rebels, you find out where that all comes from.
Yeah.
And it just happens organically.
Yeah.
It's the 2 weeks after everything is revealed, if that is to be believed.
It's so funny. Initially,
You come across him on Tatooine.
I wasn't sure how Obi-Wan would fit into Rebels, but now I want Obi-Wan to be like the final moment of Rebels, and then he
Me too.
he witnesses whatever terrible thing happens to
I would
them,
say
and
this,
so-
even if James wasn't here, Obi-Wan can always fit. There's no way he doesn't.
Well, yeah.
We talked a little bit about
He's the
sort of.
wacky neighbor. of Rebels.
Well, he's got nothing to do but
That's his face coming up. Hey, how's it going?
he's got nothing to do but meditate in his hut. So he could
true.
just be sitting there cooking some soup, thinking about things, and that'd be great for me. So we've talked a little bit about between the original trilogy and Rogue One itself coming up. How long do you think the TV show can last, just seasons-wise? Because normally we're in a market, and I think in a time where people create things and just want them to last as long as possible. Like, the stars of Castle might not come back, and ABC is just like, we're doing Castle, man. Like, that's the era we live in. And so for Disney to be creating a story where, as a fan, you can't watch it and go like, but you gotta wrap this up. So how long do you guys think it will last?
Emma?
will last or should last.
Give me both.
Questions, yeah.
Well, I think it could last, gosh, up until the last of the main trilogy that's coming out now is released. So 9.
So you think they can go all the way?
I feel like
to
they
2019.
could. They could.
They could.
I don't think they should.
Yeah.
The cast was like, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like how far we've come in terms of sort of just like integrating Rebels into the universe of Star Wars between seasons 1 and 2. Like season 2, we've just like really hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like 3, maybe 4 seasons. Rebels probably has like a good run in it.
Yeah.
But I fear that they will try to keep it around for longer.
Yeah, we, of course, Clone Wars, we had 6 seasons, kind of,
Right.
Netflix,
Yeah.
Netflix, you can watch that, but we had recorded that entire season.
Right.
Oh,
And
really?
we were actually starting to record season 7.
Wow.
So we were planning on going to season 8. So, you could guess that Disney's going to go, well, we have to do more than Clone Wars did.
Yeah.
So we'll do 6 seasons or 7 seasons.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to guess maybe 5 solid seasons on the
it's
show.
set 5 years before A New Hope, right? So that makes sense, sort of timeline-wise. Would you guys ever want to see it continue into original trilogy time? And we know that Luke and Han and Leia are having their adventures, but then some of our rebels are having these other adventures, other places at the same time. Or would that just sort of annoy you
I think
as Star Wars fans?
not with the Jedi characters can't, as far as I'm concerned.
Except for
because
Ahsoka.
Except for Ahsoka, yeah. But because by the time we get to New Hope, the idea is that there are no Jedi except Obi-Wan and Luke, who's not really trained.
Yeah, and Yoda,
And Yoda, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sabine, it'd be fun to see. And I mean, again, these kind of, we joked about that though, that, Ahsoka show, I mean, you totally could do a whole film on this character.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You could do a whole series on this character of what's going on between and after and all. I mean, who knows what's going to happen to her, though, but I would hope that character... Yeah.
No, I think we all know.
I love that character.
We all know.
It's the bad inclination. I think that the show, from a story point, I think they're doing the nice thing by wrapping up some of the stuff from Clone Wars.
Yes.
But once that gets taken care of and Rex goes whatever way he goes and Ahsoka goes whatever way she goes and whoever the original master is goes whichever way he goes, then we're going to start to get the integration to leading up to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But I think Disney would pull... this is a really random reference, but would pull like an angel and leave it to where it's like, all right, let's go to work, and kind of leave it really sort of open, so that you go, they probably died, but we didn't see that, so that's great.
That's a great pull. I love it.
Yeah.
Would you guys want it to see it go in the direction of Clone Wars, where I feel like Clone Wars was a little bit of an anthology, where Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka were the leads, but then it had that great anthology feel where if you did just tune in and it was Mace Windu and Jar Jar Binks, you weren't like, what's going on?
Because you knew these guys.
You knew your main characters would be back, and it seems like if they're introducing all of these characters who deserve the spotlight, I might be happier if it was a little bit more of an anthology.
I agree with you, because I mean the thing about Clone Wars is format-wise, for me anyway, it's kind of reminiscent of the old Doctor Who serials, where it's like this collection of episodes is one story.
Right.
And obviously, watching the whole thing, it's a much richer experience. You have more of a backstory for some of the characters who ultimately show up and get their moment in the spotlight. But I think that Rebels kind of needs to move in that direction if it wants to try to deal with the Star Wars universe on as grand a scale as it's starting to do now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, I mean, it really was fun when we would do episodes of Clone Wars that were kind of their own things, almost like Twilight Zone episodes or things like I think that that's a wise choice, especially if you want to keep going with these characters, because again, they're stuck. I mean, we weren't really that stuck. Because you knew.
Yeah, it's true.
These were so ingrained, we know, and these characters are going to go here and here, but what happened during the Clone Wars? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
This is what happened between 3 and 4, but not to the characters that you're used to it happening to. That's a tricky place to be.
Yeah, and I think that's what's different is it was fun adventures with Anakin and Obi-Wan and everybody we knew, and it didn't feel like the wick was burning down too fast in Clone Wars.
No.
It felt like it was exploring new things.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Rebels is ultimately becoming... We are seeing the formation of the Rebel Alliance through the eyes of these characters.
Right.
So it is right now maybe a little less about the characters and more about that formation.
And I think that's what's been sort of baffling me about season 2 of Rebels, is because, as you say, it is so much now about the forming of the Rebel Alliance, and on top of that, they're bringing in all these characters from Clone Wars and trying to wrap up these loose ends. And what was so great about the show in the first place was these really endearing characters, and I feel like we're not getting as much time with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I love you, Disney. I do. Here's what I wish would have happened, especially being on the cast.
Yeah.
But I wished that Clone Wars would have gone all the way up till now, till Force Awakens comes out, and then they end the series. And then they come out with a new show and call it The Resistance or whatever, that is essentially the same story as Rebels, but it's set during Force Awakens time.
Yeah.
That to me as a Star Wars fan would have made more sense.
Yeah.
That to me as a voice actor that wanted to continue working on the show also made sense. But
And it sounds like there's a lot of there's some news recently that there may not be as much of a focus on live action for television.
Yeah.
so it seems natural that, at least for Mr. Filoni, that there would be a Force Awakens series that, as one starts to wind down, or rather the sequel trilogy was one starts to wind down, the other one starts to wind up.
Although I'm still holding out hope that they would have Dave direct one of the films in some way at some point. You know, people have to remember that Dave Filoni is, of course, the director, but also, you know, wrote so many of these episodes. He was the supervising director of Clone Wars and Rebels. This man spent a good 8 years of his life one-on-one with George Lucas almost every day.
Yeah.
He's the last, that boy's our only hope. He is the last remnant of that George Lucas Star Wars, kind of go back to what we were talking about. He knows the way he thinks, and to say that he should just be, you know, looked at as a TV filmmaker, no, this guy knows Star Wars better than anybody besides Sam Witwer. Right. But and I would love to see that.
Yeah, and I think he did a great job with Rebels, if nothing else, just being a lead into this is what Disney is going to do with Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't worry. And I think it got a lot of people hyped and started the nostalgia machine that Force Awakens was sold on.
Oh, it absolutely
it did an amazing job of that.
Absolutely did for me. I remember watching that pilot, which was that sort of made-for-TV special, and I was like, I love Star Wars, guys. It's back. It's back.
I've seen a lot of fan discussions about Rebels, because I was reading up, talking about it being a children's show and judging it based on that. So I'm really interested in that. Do you guys consider it a children's show? Do you view it differently? Was Clone Wars a children's show?
No.
No.
My daughter is 10. She still has not seen the show.
Yeah.
Good.
Because it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's
I
heavy
remember
stuff.
There's
first watching Clone Wars, I was like, there's a lot of death happening.
And Cartoon Network cut out a lot of stuff. I mean, if you watch it on Netflix or on the DVDs, when Ventress kills this trooper in this one episode, they cut it. But I remember Dave showed it to us. She force pulls this trooper into her lightsaber, and she kisses him as he dies.
Oh, wow.
It was like, you know, I was like, oh, Cartoon Network coming up next. You know, it was just
now
like,
buy a Go-Gurt. Wow. So obviously there are differences, and it's nice to know from somebody who worked on it that everybody was really well aware of, like, we're making this show kind of for everybody, and you know, parents can decide when their kids watch it. Rebels is obviously a little bit more family friendly.
Yeah.
Does that affect how you view it? Because sometimes we talk about, like, well, we can't judge it too harshly because it's a kid's show, but then we're adults discussing this and enjoying it because it is Star Wars and it is canon. Does it matter?
I don't think it gets off the hook for being a kid's show. You know what I mean? And on top of that, it's like, yes, it is a kid's show. It certainly is toned down in terms of the amount of death and destruction that we see in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah. And it has to be.
Yeah.
I think by focusing on Ezra for some of the parts where you could see the Rebel Alliance going, they killed like so many people.
Yeah.
Like, by focusing on Ezra in those more personal moments, it's the other side of that coin and of that story while still having those stakes. Because when Darth Vader first shows up, that's pure fear. Like, as anybody. And seeing him take out the entire fleet by himself. Like, that's straight up his power and a very adult concept of a one-man army. So I wouldn't say it's a children's show. It's strictly a children's show. No.
Yeah, I mean, you're the Disney expert. You know Disney really well. Do you feel like do you feel like the tone has shifted, Mark, from being a little bit more safe to let's have Darth Vader put the lightsaber to the kid's neck?
I would say that Disney likes to take a little bit more of a chance on properties that they know will be successful. Speaking previously to Tron Uprising, that was a very violent show.
Okay.
Programs were getting de-resed left and right, and it was very adult. It was about revolution. It's very similar themes, but as of yet, it being years later, there's no word of any kind of a season 2 or whatever, despite having the cast involved in that as well. So with a thing like Star Wars, it seems like they made the right decision where it came to incorporating the stuff to get this fan base and that fan base while creating a new fan base, and that's what season 1 did for kids, what season 2 is doing for the widespread Star Wars fandom.
That's a good way to look at it.
I think you could say the same with Clone Wars. The movie came out and everybody was kind of like, oh, what's this? And then season 1 came out and it was kind of soft. I mean, it was big ratings and such, but people were kind of like, I don't know, Star Wars fans. By season 2, we really hit our stride, and by season 3, it was that dark Empire Strikes Back, you don't know what's going to happen, everybody's dying thing. The other benefit is we had droids to kill, so it's easy to kill droids.
It's true.
You can't just kill stormtroopers, you can't chop their heads off and stuff, so it's a different beast.
Though there were plenty of clone troopers that did die, and it was just
by the end, by season
they killed
5
off
and
a bunch
6.
of
and I thought really in a responsible way, it gave so much humanity to them. Speaking of adult things, should there be a romance in Rebels?
This is for you,
want a
Tom.
romance?
This is for you.
Mark, do you think there should be a romance?
I think the only romance should be Kanan and Hera, and not something that's like lovey-dovey. Oh, I love you so much, but a very respectful adult relationship.
Your impression was drunk. Like
No,
you and I got
of that love-struck Romeo and Juliet. Like, oh, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And there's probably something between Chopper and Zeb, but we won't go into that right now. But I would say Hera and Kanan as like two adults. Like, you know what, this is pretty good. Let's make it official.
No,
it's obvious.
It's super obvious, and I totally agree with you, Mark. Like their relationship just works as is. Like I almost feel like if they addressed it more, it would take something away. Because
like season 3, you find out they're married, and everybody's like, I didn't even think to ask.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like it's like the way they are portrayed in the show seems like two adults who have been in a functional relationship for a long period of time.
How boring.
I agree completely. I think that if you're going to do anything, it should be with those two characters. And, obviously, what else are you going to do?
I kind of ship Kanan and Ahsoka. Just because they've had these similar backgrounds. They're the both ones with the sort of the tortured history with the Jedi Order.
Hera ain't gonna let that happen.
Probably not.
Just grab him by the ear. What are you doing? How much?
It is both something I sincerely think about and feel, but I also want to see how much trouble I can stir up on the old Tumblr.
That's fun.
I feel like I've seen some fan art of that.
I mean, how much fan art has come out of Ezra and Princess Leia after this past episode?
I know.
They just had sort of a natural connection as characters of like, wow, we've both been through a lot separately. Cool. Yeah, respect.
Now
shoot
a good
me.
moment.
Please edit this done. Please.
Are there any other loose plot threads from Clone Wars that you guys would like to see picked up in particular?
Well, apparently it's confirmed that Barriss Offee is definitely not the seventh sister, but I would like to find out what happened to her later, because I was reading up on that character, and like Dave Filoni very specifically said that he did actually kill her off in a scene and then went, no, I want to do something with her later, so...
Cool.
I want to know what it is.
Do you have opinions or insights that you can share, James?
It's funny because, I mean, again, when we were making the show, I was under the impression she was, gone.
She was gone, right?
Because that's how things were going. So the fact that she isn't is kind of news to me even right now. So, I know Meredith would love it, Meredith Salinger. But no, I think that as far as other ones, though, the question was any other stories?
Stories that you didn't feel like got to be wrapped up, because I do appreciate how much they are going back to sort of what happened to the clones and that kind of thing.
Look, I mean, again, every day I get tons and tons of people asking, when is Obi-Wan going to be on the show?
Right.
I can't answer that because I don't know. I'm the guy that they hired to do the voice, but that's it. So I loved John Jackson Miller's book Kenobi, and it's like that was what's happening with Obi-Wan on Tatooine while watching Luke. I'd love to see something like that. I'd love to. It's talking more about, like, you're talking about the anthology type feel of it. If they went off on different things and got to, Yoda episode where he's just on Dagobah and he's dealing with the Force. There's all sorts of things happening there, and Obi-Wan trying to summon Qui-Gon, and I mean, those things would be fun, and I think they would do a lot for the fans of Clone Wars that aren't going as strongly to Rebels, and also to people that are just Star Wars fans.
I think it'd be a lot to keep tying everything together, and I feel like the success of The Force Awakens, the success of the amount of Clone Wars that is in Rebels, I feel like that's more than enough for Disney to not be gun-shy about prequel era.
I agree, and I think, too, with the success of Force Awakens, and one of the things that, people have been saying about it is Star Wars for a new generation of Star Wars fans, and I think that a lot of sort of younger fans who maybe saw Force Awakens would go back and really enjoy Rebels, and I think that introducing more of those plot lines from Clone Wars and dipping your toes a little more in the prequels would kind of help these new fans to explore Star Wars in a really fun way.
Yeah, I
Cad
want them.
Bane. I'd like Cad Bane.
Oh, Cad Bane would be
That's
great.
exactly what I was
You're going to
gonna
say
say.
Cad Bane. I want brainworms. I love the brainworms episode. I love the brainworms.
I wanted to go further. I want to see Cad Bane in Rogue One. Just
Yeah.
Such a great character.
Yeah. And so interesting and so Star Wars. Just a very, very Star Wars
Very
character.
Star Wars.
And if they're not going to do the Boba Fett movie, I feel like that was one of the big themes in Clone Wars of this very slow learning more about Boba Fett growing up. That was really interesting to me.
Yeah,
and how it connected to the
Boba's
larger.
a natural fit for Rebels.
yeah.
Really is,
So
yeah.
I hope he shows up.
Yeah.
So getting back to the big question in the air about the Jedi characters, we kind of know in order to satisfy what we generally want as fans that Luke is the hope.
Yep.
Do we have any brainstorms of what could happen to all our Jedi characters besides turn, die, run away?
I think that Tommy Lee Jones will come in with the little thing and and then they'll forget that they're Jedi.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's a huge part of Force Awakens theory that all of the mind wipe theories. So maybe there's a lot of mind wiping going on.
It's all right. 1, 2, 3. Who are you?
Yeah, what am I doing here?
I think if you want to go straight by like a written contract sort of a thing, they could go the way of Ahsoka. Technically, Ahsoka isn't a member of the Jedi Order while still being a Jedi.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
If we go to that certain point of view kind of place, it could be a thing where they go, I can't do this anymore.
Well, you have to imagine that there's people all over this galaxy that have Force abilities.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true.
That just don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have them now. Emma could have them, right? Wait a second, that cup is not.
You do not see the hands moving in front of you.
Especially if you're listening to the podcast version of the show.
It was totally the air.
It was.
Would you guys accept it if the canon became Luke is the new hope because he's a Skywalker and he's massively powerful.
Right.
But Ahsoka and Kanan and Ezra are all still running around the galaxy, just can't be bothered to do anything more.
I don't think I'd like them running around the galaxy, can't be bothered to do anything more, but I think it's not unrealistic to assume that there is a chance that they just kind of go into hiding and maybe they're off somewhere in the far reaches of the galaxy doing something else not attached to the main plot of the original trilogy.
Yeah, because we have to imagine, we know when we watch Star Wars Episode 4 where the state of the galaxy is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, did you guys really do anything all that time?
Right.
So, yeah, something's got to happen to
Yeah.
them in that degree where either they do just pull an Ahsoka. Is that what we're calling it now?
Yeah.
Pulling an Ahsoka. And if so, you could very well tie it all in, depending on how much Disney would want to do that, to where Luke goes and finds them, tracks them down, and brings them into the new Jedi Order or something.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Mark, do you have thoughts about what else could happen to the Jedi?
I think it's going to be all of the legends that we hear about Darth Vader are going to be true, where he's killing Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be something, whether it's them, our characters directly, or other people, something that Darth Vader does is going to make everybody go, well, we're done. We
He
can't
has
do
to.
anything.
And realistically, in the world of Star Wars, that has to happen.
Yeah.
The only problem is you've invested 2 seasons now, probably,
3, 4, 5, yeah.
with these characters and your kids, and then how do you set your kid on your lap and say, well, let me tell you about Ezra? You can't do that.
No.
So they're really...
It seems like they're really hinting even more strongly in this preview that Ezra might turn, which is a way to not murder your child star. How do you guys feel about Ezra turning?
I think that's worse.
For
I really do. I think
just
it's
for
worse.
presenting to your kids.
And just for presenting a story of good and evil, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's awful. Oh,
I'm gonna flip this table with my mind. Yeah. Okay, cool. But I feel like I feel like Ezra might turn. I feel like Ahsoka seems like it would be fitting for her story to go up against Vader and not make it, because that at least has huge emotional resonance. It's not what I want. I want Ahsoka to star in Episode 8 is what I want.
Throughout this entire episode, I've just been looking at the Ahsoka character.
I know,
and just
I
be
keep
like,
looking over at her
please.
too.
Let's just do
But they're doing a great job of setting up. I love that they were just straight up with Kanan being like, I can't handle Vader. Nope.
Yeah.
That was so great, because I feel like he has been depowered in some Star Wars stories, and I don't think he should be.
No.
So which so sets up Ahsoka to be like, I think I can take him.
Yeah.
I'm much more well-trained than you guys.
And she knows it.
And she knows him.
And
Yeah.
in the trailer, the holovids of Anakin, and we get to see the Rebels design of Anakin.
So happy that Matt's
so
voice
cool.
is in there.
Oh, it's
too.
so
Matt
powerful.
Lanter, yeah.
So powerful. Quick goofy question, because we should probably wrap up the Rebels section here pretty soon.
Let's keep goofing on the Empire.
If you could hang out with any character from the crew of the Ghost, which character would you guys just want to hang with?
Hera. I love her. She's a role model, I think.
Yeah, understandably so.
I just... Hera to me is she's my favorite sort of, I hesitate to call her an archetype, but it is a particular type of the quote unquote strong female character.
Yeah.
That she is this incredibly like feminine, motherly figure, but nobody messes with her, and she is 100% in charge, and she is this incredibly motivated, capable character who still is very vulnerable.
Right.
And I like her. I would like her to give me a nice life talk.
Yeah.
I totally agree, actually, because and all of them are wonderful actors, and they're all playing the part so well. And Vanessa Marshall does such a great job of creating exactly that. She's kind of this. If she had kids, she'd be full control of the kids while she's on the phone and driving and doing all the. I mean, it's like she is somebody that you could sit down at dinner with and have a conversation with anything from Star Wars to guns or food and just and raising kids or whatever it was. She is the most kind of all-encompassed character there that I think everybody's the most comfortable with.
Yeah, and that's great backstory to the sort of the deepening of all of the canon through Clone Wars and the books, that we have such a relationship with her father too. It really informs her character. Who would you want to have a drink with, Mark?
If it was have a drink with,
I changed the question a little bit for you, buddy.
If it was have a drink with, I would have to say Zeb. But I totally agree with Hera. She was the one character when they were announcing all of the Disney Infinity figures for Star Wars. I was like, and Hera's not involved anyway whatsoever. Which
give it time.
Kind of
I'm
makes
sure
it.
Yeah.
When stuff gets popular, they make more. Who knew? But if it's having a drink with somebody, it would be Zeb or Kanan, just to be like, hey, nobody can hear us. Tell me about tell me about your childhood. Tell me about the Jedi Order. I want to know, like, if you are the Jedi, how did that happen? I want to know more about it.
Yeah.
And Zeb, I just want to hear war stories.
Yeah, and I think he would be great with those. My out of the box choice is Chopper.
Yes.
I knew you were gonna say Chopper.
Because here's my thing with Chopper. He annoyed me the first season because I felt like he was the most stereotypically Disney-ish, and I had great fear of like, is Star Wars just going to become a Disney property?
You sound like such great fear.
I was so frightened that it was going to get wacky, and I even got kind of cranky about it on the Far Far Away podcast.
Did you?
And I heard about it from a Twitter fan. Like, all right, you're right. I was a little angry toward Chopper and his style of humor, but I feel like they've shifted Chopper from being, he used to kind of be this annoying prankster where it would be like, I'm kind of messing things up for fun. In the second season, so far he almost seems more like, no, maybe he's got a dark purpose.
Yeah,
maybe he's a little. So I'd like to get him alone in a room and be like, okay, buddy, what's?
Oh no, Chopper has the highest body count of any of the rebels. He does.
Yeah, I think they're seeing the power of the droid though too. When you see millions of people react to BB-8 the way they did, and 3PO, they go, okay, we have something very special here that we can do with this character. And so, I think it's wise, but I think it's really wise because I was in the same boat as you the first season with them. I was like, oh, please, guys, come on, don't do that.
Yeah.
But they turned it around.
No, he seems a little bit more knowing. He seems a little bit more Harpo Marx-ish.
Yeah.
If people ever watch the Marx Brothers movies anymore, he seems like an agent of chaos who maybe knows that I'm creating a problem just to see how things are going to bounce off the walls. A little bit more like sociopath-like.
No, that's what I was going to say.
Love.
He's a sociopathic murderer.
Yeah. So I want to be alone in a room with him. That's not a good decision.
How did this conversation go? Would you want to have a drink with a character? Yes, because I want to know how many people specifically Chopper has killed and how many times he watched Dexter in full on Netflix.
Did you watch the last two seasons, Chopper?
The sequel of Making a Murderer is going to be about Chopper.
Okay, so here's my final question on our Rebels section. I feel like what the show is doing a really good job of is capturing a feeling of a sacrifice of the individual for the greater cause, that everybody wants to make the galaxy better. Is there a rebellious or heroic or thing that you guys have done in your lives
I was racking my brain for an answer to this question. I still haven't come up with one that's very satisfactory. I guess I'm not a very heroic person.
Oh, come on. No. When you decided to sit next to me, that was incredibly
Selflessly.
heroic. Yeah, I know it's a tricky question. It really is. I don't know if I've necessarily done anything heroic. I've been around so many wonderful and wonderfully heroic people that are touched by Star Wars.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, literally from going to like children's hospitals
Yeah.
and seeing kids that are fighting to survive and they love Star Wars and Star Wars is helping keep them alive. There's beautiful tie-ins of people being very heroic through their love of that. Myself, no, I'm a voice actor, man. I sit in the room and talk to myself.
But you go places as an ambassador of Star Wars, and you give of yourself
Oh yeah, no,
to celebrate this larger thing.
Very fortunate to be able to do it, and all over the world.
Yeah.
Go all over the world for Star Wars and see and be a part of things and host and talk to the biggest names in it. You know, Frank Oz sat down with me this summer,
Wow.
which he'd never really done.
amazing.
We got to talk for 3 hours about it. So as far as heroic, yes, it was very heroic of me.
To talk to Frank Oz.
but I mean, I'm just the most fortunate. I'm not the most heroic, but I'm certainly the most fortunate person in the world of Star Wars.
Cool, Mark.
Can't beat that. Are you kidding? You want me to come?
Well, you don't have to beat it. Here's the thing about life. You know, it doesn't. The best thing doesn't always have to be last.
That's right.
The good thing can come in the middle.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to peel yourself back and look at yourself as heroic in any sort of way.
I think that's why I couldn't come up with something.
I think the only thing that I can really kind of associate with that is the fact that we as the Jedi Alliance offer a hub to people who may not have a place to talk about Star Wars
Yes.
with people. That's really
cool.
the closest thing that I could call heroic would be he started the slow
There's
clap.
a standing
That's
O.
really the only thing is creating a deepening the community and creating an environment where people feel safe to talk about their fandoms, even though Star Wars is probably the safest thing that you can be a fan of in the world because everybody loves Star Wars.
But we go pretty deep.
We can.
We
Just
can.
make
We
sure to
can.
watch our watch-alongs of episodes 1, 2, and 3.
The only thing I came up with, and the reason I asked this question is just because I feel like we do get so much from watching ideas of how we can better ourselves. That sometimes I like to try to reflect instead of just like sit on my couch in my pajama pants eating Doritos going, yep, heroes, cool. Like, oh, I should think maybe about
that's true.
in the most, not impressive at all. My wife and I decided that we would give all of her nieces and nephews Star Wars things. And we really wanted to give one of her nieces a Rey action figure. And they were a little hard to find. And I said, we can give her my Rey action figure. And my wife looked at me and was like, no, it's okay. And then we spent a lot of money on Amazon to get one for our niece. So,
Wow.
but I was willing. It was one of those moments of like,
good.
I have to be selfless because I really want this action figure. Action figures are my connection, my original connection to Star Wars, and Rey was a great find. And I could do it.
Yeah.
See,
You're willing to make that sacrifice.
You're all much too young because you weren't even alive when I had to send away and get a piece of cardboard with pictures of the action figure with a promise of someday I
The
would
empty
have
box?
them.
Yeah.
Yes. But so that you can just call up or dial up or just go on Amazon now. Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. I did almost buy 2 versions of the empty box that they re-released in 2005 for Revenge of the Sith.
Release the empty box.
They released it. This is the best thing, and this is why I'm taking the time with it. They released the empty box in a box, so you would get 2. One empty box that could be inside the box, and one box you could take out of the box.
Oh man.
And I almost did buy 2 of them, but I
We're
did
doing
not.
a weekly podcast about this franchise. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the
insane.
self-awareness.
Any final thoughts about Rebels before we move on to our other segments?
I'm still enjoying it, and I just
Yeah.
hope that it doesn't sort of run its course too soon.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Stop asking if Obi-Wan will be on it. I have no idea. And truthfully, should Obi-Wan be on Rebels? Probably not.
Yeah.
Unless we, like the way we talked about it, but probably not because his job is watching Luke.
Yeah.
So, that's that. But as far as the show goes, just enjoy it, have fun with it. It's like everything. We can start picking things apart so much and go, well, this doesn't make sense. And I'm talking to myself more so than anybody because I'm the one that sits there watching and going, wait a second, come on. And my wife's like, what are you doing screaming at the TV? So just enjoy it. Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
The only thing I would think is I would like to see these characters on the big screen one day.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that will help shorten the gap between that's just a TV thing and it's all one universe.
Yeah, I'd like it to be less segregated.
Yeah, and Marvel's starting to make strides to that as well, and Disney as a parent company should be like, no, everything gets time everywhere.
Yeah.
We can't all be Sophia the First.
all of the actors that are playing them, just like it happened on Star Wars, Clone Wars, they all could play the characters in live
They can.
action.
Oh, yeah.
They all could.
Oh,
They
that's
all look
awesome.
just
Oh,
like
they all
them, you know?
could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
I can see Prince Jr. in a
a Kanan suit. Yeah.
sweet shoulder pad. Yeah. What about you, Joseph?
For me, for Rebels, no, just I think I have been a little bit more critical of it. I think partially because it started with that Disney fear, but there are great characters, there are great stories, and I think maybe I'll enjoy it even more when I can binge watch it.
Yes.
Because I didn't watch Clone Wars week to week, I binge watched it, and I think some of what feels a little herky jerky to me is maybe a little bit of the week to week. So I look forward to getting time to just sort of power through it all.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
From there, we go to our new segment, and I'm going to keep calling it that until we get another new one, Mind Probe. That is where you can go to our Facebook page at Jedi Alliance, and you can submit questions that we can talk about here as a group. So first, from Justin Seiler, what scene in the entire saga is the most well acted? His pick is the aftermath of Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight. The first time we see emotion pour out of
You're the
Obi-Wan
chosen one.
makes me
It was said
teary-eyed.
that you would destroy this. You not join them. Bring balance to the Force. Not leave it in darkness.
I believe
Wow.
that is everybody's pick. Moving on to our next
and
question.
that's my new cell phone ring.
Anybody?
No, I was basking in the glow of the Obi-Wan. Give me a second here. This is an impossible question. It's an insane question.
Yes.
And a great question because it's so impossible. But I think my pick is Luke and Yoda on Dagobah.
Okay.
Just because of the incredible acting challenge of Mark Hamill being alone.
Well, which one? Which scene?
Just in general. But I got a specific one.
Okay.
The general challenge, but specifically the scene where Yoda, drops the dime that he is the Jedi Master, because it's got the great impatience from Luke that is totally believable, that could have been really tone deaf and played petulant, but instead reads like a young man who is just anxious to fulfill his destiny.
Yeah.
Well, also, we as the audience can tell he doesn't understand his destiny at all. No. So you get all of that from his performance, and then a puppet scares the crap out of you. Right.
I've got to talk to Mark and Frank about that specifically. They both say the same thing about each other, but Mark goes on and says the only reason why that worked is because of Frank. And then Frank says the only reason why it worked is because of Mark. And they're both right. And it is. I showed it to my daughter for the first time, not too long ago, and she was just enthralled by it because it's great acting on their parts. And it's classic movie making. It's wonderful stuff.
Yeah. It ties together that essential idea of Star Wars that just having adventures and fighting isn't fun. It comes with responsibilities.
That's true.
And that scene ties that together so incredibly well. So that's my vote.
Yeah. I really like the scene between Han and Leia at the conclusion of the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi when she's worried about Luke, being up with the Emperor and Darth Vader. Yeah, exactly. You love him. I love both of them. I think this scene is incredibly well acted on both of their parts. It's so nice to see Han hurt. You know what I mean? Yeah, but in a way that's very realistic for that character. I mean, everybody talks about, the I love you, I know scene, and he was supposed to say I love you too, and he was just like, nah, I wouldn't say that. And I think that this is another one of those scenes that you get this great interaction between the two of them and sort of subtle acting on Harrison Ford's part, and then it all ends up okay.
Yeah, it's a huge acting challenge too, because a normal sort of romantic story, that scene is a 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
and because of the nature of Star Wars, we can knock it out in 2 minutes. Sure, a minute.
It also kind of helps untangle the mess that George created with these two. Okay, why are they kissing all the time? And this and this. Okay, it's making fun of it. But it's also taking care of it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the entire last third of Return of the Jedi. No, but the all of the stuff in the throne room where it's the Emperor, Darth Vader, and Luke.
Yeah.
The lightsaber fight, probably the most so.
Yeah.
But even up to the last scene with Luke and Vader taking off the mask, it talks about that impatience because the day's saved, everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be great, just come on, let's go back, everything's great. It's like, no, dude, I don't worry about me, I'm good, just okay. And then Vader dies, and it's also charged. Like, this is the payoff of the entire movie, or of the entire series of movies, and it's played, and with the Emperor just kind of cawing in the background made even better. But, yeah.
It is, and it's still, I think, probably the most powerful lightsaber battle outside of Obi-Wan and Vader. The first of those two are first. Yeah, you still get the hairs standing up watching them. Yeah.
James, what is your pick on this impossible question of best acting moment in Star Wars?
I really do. I always say I have a stage show where I recreate a lot of things, and I recreate that scene that I was doing. You were the chosen one, Brother Anakin. That is a really powerful. I mean, for me as an actor that has played Obi-Wan Kenobi or somebody that's been in Star Wars, that one's very powerful. Yeah, and I think it's the saving grace of the prequels. For people that don't, it's like, come on, you can't tell me that Ewan McGregor didn't save these scenes and these with that acting. It's great.
Like, you end that scene with, and he was a good friend. Yeah. Like, that's immediately it draws.
Yeah. Gosh, it really is tough though. It's tough because I am fond of Jar Jar. Falling around. No, I'm kidding. All of yours are great.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great examples of acting, but I think also the power of that Obi-Wan scene in that he had held himself back for that level of emotion.
And if you consider that he was on a blue screen,
I know,
screaming at nothing, and you hear he's. I mean, it's everything, and it's the pinnacle of all. Because even if the movies didn't live up to what you wanted them to be, that did.
Yes,
that made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was like he was saying everything that we were saying. How can you do this?
No, there was back in the day when the movies were coming out, I had a couple friends who'd be like, I'm really mad about Attack of the Clones. I'm not even seeing Revenge of the Sith. And then I could send them the trailer and like, you were the okay, I'll go. okay. No matter what, I'm going. Because it's really, really powerful.
Yeah. Make sure to leave us your favorite in the comments below. But moving on, Aiden Hosey asks, I think that all 3 OG heroes will fall in this new trilogy. My thought is Han in 7, Leia in 8, Luke in 9. That way, at the end of this trilogy, it is truly these new character stories. Do you think Luke or Leia will make it to the credits of episodes 8 or 9?
I think that either of them could live, because they didn't kill off all of the characters from the prequels by the end of the original trilogy. I'm trying to think.
That's a big, bad, bold move. I mean, unless you do like 6 Feet Under, the TV show, where you show how everybody died. You know, I mean, I wouldn't like that. I mean, personally, I was not a fan of Han Solo being killed off. Sorry. Yeah, I was not.
I mean, already covered it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of it because what it does is it affects my view when I watch 4, 5, and 6. When I watch 4, 5, and 6 now, and I see them all at the end, and all that happening, I think, and then later his son's gonna kill him.
But this is really with Han. It's one of the first huge pop culture icon characters that we actually see die.
I mean, it has huge weight. And I think it makes it challenging for. I feel like everybody would go into episode 8 saying, "Well, of course Luke's going to have a very Jedi Obi-Wan like death," but then you get into sort of like rhythms that are like, well, we just had this in the previous movie. Those stanzas are rhyming too much. So can you get away with offing Luke in 8? And why would anyone want to?
I know. I was going to say, I frankly would like to see both Luke and Leia make it all the way through to the end.
I agree. I think that's a weird move.
Here's my fan fiction pitch. This is what I want to happen. I want Leia to make it through to the end because I don't think Leia being around disrupts the other heroes' journeys. I think she has already shown, like, hey, I'm not going to run around with a blaster. I'll shoot someone if I have to, but I'd rather hang out here and make decisions and tell other people what to do. So, but then Luke, if he is the powerful Jedi that I want to see him be, just an insanely powerful Jedi, then he does start to get in Rey's way narratively.
That's true, yeah.
So I want to see him do something that we haven't seen a Jedi do, where he can just sort of transform to another level. Like, not even sacrifice himself the way that Obi-Wan did and get greater power, But like if Luke's been communing with Obi-Wan and
That's
Yoda and
interesting.
Anakin, he's just like,
No, that's great.
actually I can turn into a force cloud.
Yeah.
And I can just float around all the time
Yeah.
and just some other level we haven't heard of.
I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right,
But
sorted.
yeah, no, it's pretty
Call
good.
JJ.
Oh,
That's free.
no, don't make it free.
No,
if
no,
you want
copyright.
at least credit, give him credit.
That's
for
right.
It's
that.
fine.
You
It'll give me
will
something to
give
complain
Joseph
about for
credit.
years in bars. I came up with the Luke turning into a force cloud.
Yeah, of course you did, old
It's
man.
my idea on a podcast.
Everybody's got a podcast these days. Sarah Giselle asks, what do you think Rey's major stumbling block could be in training to be a Jedi? Luke had a very narrow mind that he struggled to open up, and Anakin's impulsiveness and high-strung emotions often led to trouble. Will we see a similar kind of flaw in Rey?
I mean, Rey has had some childhood trauma, to be sure.
Yeah.
So I think that is going to be... I think that's going to come back, and that's going to be her biggest roadblock.
Yeah, if you look at like when she first meets Finn, you know, that element of her being the tough fighter on her
Yeah.
own, Solo, being Han Solo.
Yeah.
She's more of that character. I think that would be her
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Doing it alone.
Not being able to be coachable, sort of a thing. Like, you just...
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, not in the same way as Luke, but yeah, just like I'm doing my own
Yeah, I
thing.
got it.
Yeah, I got it.
think
I got it.
that's what made her unique is that determination.
Yes.
Like she was not staring at the horizon in the same way that
No.
Luke and Anakin were.
Yeah.
She was that I could leave. I have agency. I could figure out a way to leave, but I am not going to. So I
Right.
can see things where where Luke is saying, this battle is lost. You have to leave. And she won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's still more to be done. I have to stay, and it's like, nope, cut your losses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to move with the force.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing.
I also think
Yeah.
she has that sense of what she wants now is a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
So that might also be a great, a good example of the poetry of, is it good to have attachments?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, this
Yeah.
all goes back through my Jedi training, I must tell you. It's really interesting because I think of it that way. It's like for 10 years I've been involved in this, and I think about that and think of the way a Jedi would, and you think, yeah, it's actually very polar, her ways from
Yeah.
the way the Jedi
Yeah.
would have her act. So, yeah.
And
that's
also
good
what Luke may have found out about the Jedi Order in the Lost Time.
Yeah.
If he's going to stay to that lesson plan or be like, yeah, that didn't quite work out, and start to adapt. So it also depends on how Luke is going to teach.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
That's a great title for episode 8, Luke's lesson plan.
Luke got his groove back. Our final question comes from H.J. Lewin Vaughn. Do you guys think that episode 8 will begin where episode 7 ended, or will there be a time gap between the movies?
I think like a brief time gap. I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to start with day one of Rey's training with Luke.
My whole thought watching episode 7 was episode 8 is going to have to just go back in time. We got to find out why Snoke's got the big lightsaber gash in his
Yeah.
head. I'm
Right.
guessing
Yeah.
from Luke. We got to find out really what happened with Han and
Yeah.
Leia and Kylo and how that all came about.
Yep.
We gotta see all of that stuff. So I'm guessing they're going to jump back, do a little Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom action or something where Harrison Ford has to be younger again. But that would be my hope at least if
Yeah.
they cover some of that stuff.
Yeah.
That would be
I think it's
completely different.
definitely a
Didn't even think
challenge.
about flashing
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. I feel like it is probably not going to buck tradition, so it's going to start with the scroll of what has passed, and then we'll jump forward. I want it to start right there because I think that is one of the best cliffhangers
Yeah.
in cinema ever, of just you want to hear the next word out of
Yeah.
Luke's mouth.
Yeah.
Because Luke's going to talk first. I mean, that's what part of the thing I love about that is Rey looks so determined.
Yeah.
And it's Luke's turn to talk, so I want to hear his first word.
And it's funny how
I see
the
that,
movie
yeah.
ends the same way as it starts. So who talks first? Do I
We
talk
talk-
first? Or you
Yeah,
talk first?
yeah, exactly. Here's my other free because I'm just giving crap away to Disney today.
Better be paying attention.
Yeah, listen to Disney. It would be awesome if they really wanted to buck tradition to basically do like a James Bond cold open.
Yeah.
Where
Oh,
we see
man.
like 3 minutes of that conversation, and then bam, the big Star Wars
boy,
hits.
yeah.
Wouldn't that be insane?
Never happened.
It's never gonna happen. Nope.
Never going to happen.
That's why this idea is free. It's never gonna
good.
happen,
It's
but
just-
yeah,
yeah,
never
yeah.
gonna happen.
So if you want to be a part of our Mind Probe segment, find us on Facebook. Jedi Alliance is our page. Like us. We put out the call every couple of weeks. Make sure to leave a comment on our Mind Probe image. That way you can be a part of the show. Thanks to everybody who joined us this week.
And now we go to Duel of the Fates. When you summon the Force energy, it is so very powerful. Last week's question on Duel of the Fates is, what's your favorite quote from The Force Awakens? Do you guys have thoughts on that?
Yes, mine is when Finn is talking to Rey about why she needs to go back to Jakku, and he's like, "Why? You got a family? You got a boyfriend? You got a cute boyfriend?" It makes me laugh every single time.
Did the word boyfriend bother you? Did it feel not? Because I've talked to a few people who felt like that's too earthy of a word for Star Wars.
I don't know. I liked it for Finn.
It seems a good, it's a great moment.
It's a single word, and it's Harrison Ford saying, "Ben."
Yeah, it is made. Yeah,
Yeah, because that said everything.
yeah, it said so much. Yeah.
Sorry, really quick side note. Was there any other name that you thought he was like? Because it was very clear that he was going to call out to him. Was there any other name that you thought he would have said that would have either been cool or really lame?
I had no guesses.
Lando, like
Lando.
I didn't remember his best friend. It was a nice thing. Yen,
Chewie.
like, Chewie. Yeah.
Chewie, yeah.
Oh yeah, Wicket, because I mean they're part of the tribe
Their
now.
adopted child.
That would explain Kylo's whole backstory. Like,
Just turn Wookiee.
you've met all of the coolest people in the galaxy, and you named me Wicket. I'm going evil.
I would have taken Sheev over this.
Yeah. Mark, you shared yours last week, didn't you? Yeah.
It's kind of the common one.
Yeah, so the most common ones in the Facebook feed, because we throw this out to Facebook, you guys respond. The common ones were, "That's not how the Force works," which is great.
That was good.
Yeah, amazing. And then "Tell it to Kanji Club," which apparently on parts of the internet is getting a little bit of life as a meme.
Tell it to Kanji Club. Yeah.
But it was a wide variety. Everyone that we mentioned was mentioned, but I wanted to pick out a couple of the good comments from Facebook. Renee Carbajal says, "It's a real, all of it. Han Solo. Close-up shot of Han looking directly at the audience broke the fourth wall to tell the fans that all 6 movies, every toy, and every daydream was real." That's a great observation.
That's awesome.
It's all real.
Jessica Beardsley said, "Han Solo to Chewbacca, oh, you're cold, made me laugh so hard."
Yeah.
All the banter between Chewie and Han was amazing, felt like OT Star Wars. I also loved Rey saying, "No, the one I'm pointing at," to Finn in
Yes.
frustration.
Yep.
And I think that was a great Rey line, and it took me a couple of viewings to realize that BB-8 was helping Finn out and with a little head point
Oh yeah.
to find the thing.
And whatever BB-8 said when he lit his little thing.
With his little thumbs
thumbs
up.
up, yeah.
Was it a thumbs up?
Or was it a finger?
I didn't think it was a thumbs up. I
Okay.
thought it was something else.
Yeah, we'll Duel of Fates that one. 'Cause
Yeah?
actually,
We'll do that next week.
Yeah, that sounds good. And the final quote pick was Daniel Jose Molina, who just said, "Ellipsis, Luke Skywalker." Very good point. Very good point. A lot of great lines and a lot of great reasons for them. We will post this week's question tomorrow on Facebook, but now our panel is going to talk about it. This week's question is, if you could be advised in real life by a Force ghost, would you want Obi-Wan, Yoda, or Anakin?
I feel like I would want Obi-Wan.
Good answer.
Because
It's a charged question
it is
right
a charged
now.
question.
It is.
But okay, so I mean, Yoda's technically around the longest, but I feel like Obi-Wan has been through it. You know, he's in the front lines of
She understands.
just going through everything in the prequels, and then he gets killed off, and you know he's
beat up in Clone Wars.
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
by
Beat
season
up in Clone
4.
Wars.
Oh, he goes through a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Made me mad sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, like Obi-Wan has really been through the ringer, and so I feel like he's gonna have the best Jedi Ghost advice.
okay, cool.
Makes you drop all pretense, just be like, I'm telling you, that was a really good indicator.
Crappy meatballs.
What about this Akita Tatooine?
No, you know that, and the thing is actually he's the one that has lived kind of the most. I know you would say
Yeah.
Anakin has, but no, actually it's exactly that. And Yoda, he's almost too cool for the room.
That's what I'm.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of just want to be like, so how you doing?
Yeah.
How's the
Yeah.
weather on Dagobah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I feel like Yoda would say exactly what the truth is about what you should do with your life.
Right.
But that never works. You know, when you
No.
go to a bar with your friend and you tell them exactly what they need to do, that doesn't work. You need to help people.
I was gonna say, or vice versa. You are the friend that's being told what
Well, of
they need
course
to
not.
do, and
Yes.
you're going, no.
And you know that Obi-Wan will lie if he has to.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I
Right.
feel like Obi-Wan will tell you kind of whatever he perceives that you need to hear in that moment.
Yes.
Especially
I really
later
liked
Obi-Wan.
her. I thought you should have kept dating her. From a certain point of view.
And now I can't not go with Obi-Wan. I mean, really.
I would be curious. I admit I would be curious about Anakin because I feel like reaching out to Anakin for advice would be like, I just came back to the light.
Yeah.
No, I think
Do you want Vader advice or Anakin advice?
I think, but the thing about Anakin is, I think he would be at the place in his head where it's like, I shouldn't have said that. Like, he'd be too busy talking about his own problems and what he's been through to really be like, oh, but you should totally call her. Like, and not necessarily give you any real structured advice. Just be like, sand? Like,
Yeah, he'd be like, she did what? Let me tell you what I'm going to do. No, Anakin. We're not like, I mean, fine. I'm Anakin.
Oh, you're
I'm
right.
cool. I'm
You're
not
right.
Vader.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
This is a weird, sincere question off of this otherwise ridiculous question. Given your knowledge of Obi-Wan's psychology, in this ridiculous world where we could communicate with his Force ghost, where do you think he is at psychologically at this point in terms of how much is he going to lie to people or how much is he going to just say what he thinks they want to hear?
Check out the big brain on Joseph. That is some deep stuff. Yeah. Gosh. You know, it's really interesting because, again, we were talking about before the show, Alec Guinness and how much he put into it. And were it not for that acting and character that he put in there, it would be a completely different storyline in that and a different answer, I think. But specifically, I'm sorry. So specifically, you're asking...
Do you think he would tell people, like, what they really want to hear? Or do you think he would cling to sort of his own beliefs, I guess? Like, do you think he's broken enough from the Jedi tradition where he would be like, no, attachments are great, don't worry about it?
No. I think he's a Jedi, tried and true.
Okay.
Live or die, and he does both. Yeah. And it is that. And he sees his own shortcomings, and he wishes he hadn't made them, you know? But at the same time... Had he really finished the job with Anakin, I mean, you know, but he couldn't.
Yeah,
I just
couldn't
don't
bring
think
himself.
you know,
So you think that he would retain that sense of duty that kind of goes throughout his character?
so.
Of like, if you called him up and like, I kind of want to skip work today to go to this awesome once in a lifetime concert, and there's going to be this great girl there, and he'd be like, it is actually your duty to go to
it is your
FedEx.
duty,
You know?
Yes.
You must do what you feel is right.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, there is that Jewish mother kind of thing that goes
right.
on with him in
I
the New
think
Hope,
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you say that as Obi-Wan? I think you know the answer.
I think you know the answer.
Perfect. I'd never really thought about it until recently. Anakin's treatment of the Emperor in the scene where they're gonna kill him. He's like, "That's not the Jedi way," and Obi-Wan acts the same way. He doesn't kill because that's not the Jedi way either. And they're both kind of Jedi until they're not. Right. Really.
Yeah, I mean, and that was really my direction playing him, you know, because I was in that sandwich between those two movies.
Yeah.
That Obi-Wan, my Obi-Wan Kenobi, still believed that Anakin was the chosen one.
Right.
So I went to work every day. I couldn't think about 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
I couldn't think about them because they didn't exist yet. So I had to be in the mindset of, no, everything is fine.
And I think that comes across really clearly. Yeah. If he sees any little Anakin problem, he ignores it. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, I think that's great. It comes across so clearly in your performance.
Yeah.
That even if he sees a problem, it's sort of like, well,
Yeah.
At least he's the chosen one.
yeah.
But it is interesting when you see in what is it? It's episode 6 where he's talking to Luke as the ghost, and he's kind of going, I kind of screwed up, but you know, whatever, you know. It's kind of doing that. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for the Obi-Wan insights. Okay, so we will post this on Facebook. We'll get you guys' responses to who you would like to be your life guidance counselor as a Force Ghost. And we are going to move into wrapping up the show with some social media plugs. Emma, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Emma Fyffe, on Instagram at Emma Fyffe. I have a Facebook page that's Emma Fyffe. You can find me on a bunch of shows at our sister network, AfterBuzzTV.com. I do the after show for Star Wars Rebels. I do Face Off.
Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers, Agent Carter, all kinds of good shows. And I also do outside of this space, I do a Sailor Moon podcast called Love and Justice, and we are actually going to be at Anime Los Angeles this coming weekend. Our panel is on Friday, January 29th at 4:30 in room 203C, which I was looking at a convention map and it looks like it's upstairs. And we basically give an overview of all the various versions of Sailor Moon that there have been over the years, and there have been many. So if you guys are there, come see me.
Awesome.
Great. JamesArnoldTaylor.com. You can go there for everything JAT, as we call it, J-A-T. And you can get links to my Twitter, Instagram, and stuff, but that is at JatActor, J-A-T Actor. And I've got a new show that I've got that I'm putting together called Jat Show, which is kind of a chat show with me and my friends in voice acting. And a little almost like if you were to take the Saturday Night Live skits and throw them into situations with to actors. So they're going to get to perform more so, rather than just be asked about, how did you start voiceover? Right. That's awesome. But so it's going to be a lot of fun, and then sometimes it'll just be me talking to myself as well, and bits and pieces from my stage show. And my stage show, talking to myself, I'm still doing and taking all over the place. And then Ratchet and Clank, the movie, is coming out soon. I'm very excited about that. Another movie called Animal Crackers coming out soon, which my daughter has her film debut in. Cool. She plays my great niece in it, and she plays the daughter of Emily Blunt and John Krasinski in it, which is pretty cool. I get to play Ian McKellen's brother in that movie, so that's pretty good. That's cool.
Wow. Wait till you have old British dudes on live.
But strangely, my character is not British in it. I do more of a kind of a Jimmy Stewart kind of a character in it. But so I took, as if you take Ian McKellen and you give him an American accent, what would it be? So that was kind of the challenge.
Well, that's really cool.
So so JamesArnoldTaylor.com is pretty much the best place to reach me.
Awesome. Mark?
How can I follow that up? You can find me on Twitter at SoapboxMark. A whole bunch of stuff happening at the AfterBuzz Media Group. Later tonight, if you're watching this live, we are doing a video game movie anatomy on Resident Evil Apocalypse. Please join us for that. It's gonna be a time. And you can also a whole bunch of stuff on AfterBuzz TV, Ruby, a lot of the wrestling shows, WWE. So follow me on Twitter, SoapboxMark. Whole bunch of stuff coming down the pipeline. Mr. Joseph Scrimshaw.
You can find me on the social medias is at Joseph Scrimshaw, my name, which is very, very handy, just like Emma. And you can check out all of my shows on my website at josephscrimshaw.com/live-shows. If you're in LA, I have a couple of shows coming up right now. Tomorrow, Tuesday, I am headlining a show at Flappers Comedy in Burbank that is a kind of geek-themed show, so I'm sure if you're watching the show, you might enjoy that. And then this coming Saturday, I'm doing a live episode of my podcast, Obsessed. Normally on the podcast, we just talk about whatever people are obsessed with. This is a special live one, which will be covering The Force Awakens, which might also be of interest to people watching this show.
Arguably.
Thank you for watching and or listening to Jedi Alliance. You can visit popcorntalknetwork.com to find a nice list of all the past episodes of Jedi Alliance and links to both YouTube and iTunes. Please also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Jedi Alliance for all the us-related news. This has been Jedi Alliance on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies. Thank you for listening, because many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.